Testing, testing. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to WestWorldia, brought to you by PanNerdia. And this is the pre-game show to WestWorld, where we review the previous episode, as well as predict what's going to happen on tonight's episode. So, welcome, guys, and going to do it a little different tonight. We're jumping right into episode 2 review. Let's do it, man.
Yeah, man, I there's two halves to this, and we're not going to be perfectly exact, but for sure there was flashback stuff, and the other half was like present-day stuff with, I guess you would say, everybody, the main characters, Bernard,
Right.
Dolores, etc. So I'll just start off with saying this. In a flashback, Arnold organizes a demonstration of the hosts to convince Logan into WestWorld. What a cool scene that was, the whole, like, cityscape and the fact that they were in a room with a bunch of androids and he thought there was only one he was looking for.
Right.
But Logan's father, James Delos, is critical of his son's actions until William persuades him to use the park for corporate spying and taking advantage of the data obtained. William, though, obviously becomes a successor because he's obviously the guy that has the dark side to him.
Right,
Logan might be cocky
Right.
and kind of a jackass, but at the same time, like, he understands that we've gotten too far with our technology. I can't believe we're already at this point. Like, we're going to doom humanity if we pursue this.
Right.
Therefore, William's like, wait a second, your dad will like my idea, which is using it for the data.
Yeah, and essentially marketing purposes.
Yeah.
So let's kind of
And
delve
blackmailing.
and blackmailing,
Yeah.
of course, Logan. So let's delve into that a little bit, though. So the episode starts off with, of course, Dolores kind of coming back online, so to speak. Arnold is there, kind of prepping her because she's going to be at one of these special kind of models, so to speak, of WestWorld for this presentation to Delos, which is a possible future investor. That's one of the openings. Arnold kind of takes Dolores for a walk through a city. It seems somewhere maybe in like the eastern part of the world, from what I'm kind of getting at.
You've mentioned South Korea or somewhere in that region.
Maybe somewhere in China. I even kind of had an idea today that we still might be seeing, even though they're giving us the idea that that is the real world, that it still might be one of the other parks.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. You know, and that's maybe stretching it, but it could be.
I mean, at first, when I first saw that, I thought, yes, this has got to be Future World or past Future World because they're so farther ahead.
Right.
But the more we looked at it and looked at the vehicles, that few that we could see, that little cafe, shop at the 47 space, I'm sure that's a big clue. But at the same time, like, the most fascinating part of it was not necessarily the city, not necessarily Dolores in modern clothing like Angela was too. I think that's the right name.
Right.
But the fact that they went into Bernard's little, like, miniature Central Park, like, home.
Yeah, which is actually a real life architectural kind of masterpiece by Frank Lloyd Wright. But they
Shout out to Arizona, by the way.
They decorated that for kind of look like Arnold's abode, kind of away from home, to bring his family there, and it has a interesting symbol there.
They veneered it with the symbol.
With the symbol that I'm sure you guys saw. But Pete, why don't you explain to them about that a little bit?
Oh, I will. I mean, like you said, Dolores encounters an embittered Logan, but who tells that they have doomed humanity. But after they go to the park, basically William, though, does show up and he says he has a special project and inside of the park, but I don't know what that is exactly.
I'm thinking now, and we'll get to that soon, but I think I have an idea.
Well, the symbol, I mean, you can look at so many different ways. I think I like drew it out here, but like
it's a symbol with the cross.
Let's see here. Can you see that? See the 4 and 7, how they look like a backwards, like something? And then there's also right here, you've got your cross, or almost like a 4-way intersection with 4 blocks in each corner. Are those 4 parks? Are those 4 islands? Is the cross, is that symbolized 2 more parks, or is that like symbolize the mainland?
Maybe the 4 last surviving cities. Who knows?
Think about Dubai. I mean, the way they made man-made like islands and stuff,
yeah,
and different shapes.
I mean, hey, look what's behind us. We didn't mention that, by the way, guys. We're chilling with this terraforming machine here.
It's awfully nice of them to be quiet for us today.
Yeah, right. They're we actually just told them to seesaw motor functions while we do this episode.
Cease motor functions.
So we continue through the episode, and before we kind of jump back into the present stuff, we kind of get a peep into the past before William even knows about the park, and they're about to do this investment meeting, right? So Logan is getting presented from Argos Initiative, okay, which is still a lot of mystery in there. And he gets presented with these androids. It's kind of this elusive game to where he has to figure out which one's which. It turns out all of them are. And it's such a cool kind of, as a viewer seeing that, you kind of have that feeling of like, wow, this is, it gives you the chills, the creeps, you know?
Well, before that actually was revealed, I thought, I'm sure other viewers did too, that like, oh, well, it's Angela. And maybe the Native American fellow that was the representative.
Right.
I thought, okay, well, those are the two androids. And he's like, you got to find the one.
Right.
And she's the one. And he's going to make us way all the way around and figure out, wait, it's you.
Yeah.
Nope, it's
everybody.
WestWorld.
So immediately he's into it. And then, you know, again, we play some more with the episode in terms of the present. But they kind of jump back to the past. And we'll mention it more. Essentially, William convinces James to come check out the park. Of course, he has Dolores and Teddy as kind of like the prize little stage piece for him to come up to. And then he convinces him, like Pete said, you know, as kind of the shrewd businessman he is, or maybe the good businessman he is, to take this deal in terms of the marketing aspect. Yeah. And if you pass it up, you're not the businessman you thought he was.
It's not just for guests to come and make money off of their $40,000 a day tickets or whatever it may be.
Right.
It is finding everything out about your competitors and all the other 1%ers out there that are like the big wigs that live in the so-called future universe. And I mean, with that information, you could also have them film like raping or killing or doing things that that you would never think they would do before, kind of like Bill Cosby and Benadryl.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, oh my God, like all that information will do nothing but profit him.
Yeah, and shed light on
and
individuals.
Plus, was he sick too? Was he like going down?
Yeah,
the
he's
tubes?
getting
Delos?
sick,
Yeah.
especially during that last part where they're having his retirement party / he says coronation for William, and we'll kind of discuss that a little bit because Logan says some interesting things, and we'll stumble across that. But speaking of the high rollers, so to speak, the elitists, the ones who can afford this park, the investors, let's jump into the future where one of the investors, the guy, you know, little beady eye guy, busts into the underground, and he's like, "It's a fucking slaughter up there." And then boom, 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 Dolores and...
They let him run off, though.
I know, they let him run off. I thought he died.
He's going to have a splendid death,
No, he died. I
he did
rewatched the
die.
episode. Yeah, he got killed off camera. It just comes back to the scene, and
his body
Dolores is like, or that one chick, the blonde-haired one's pulling a knife out of his throat or something. Anyway, they bust down the doors, and Dolores proceeds to awaken Teddy, or attempt to.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy. I think it's just more awakened he's ever been, but I don't think it's all the way. But basically, present day, Dolores raids a refurbishment outpost and shows Teddy his true nature as a host. Now, Maeve isn't the only queen bee with the underground access, and that's what I was talking about last week on our show, is that once these ladies, superpower ladies, Dolores and Maeve, get sort of an idea, like a map out, the whole underground world of Delos underneath WestWorld, they'll win this war easy. Like, hands down, no doubt about it. But the tech she took along, the short black dude, classic. Another Lutz character type guy. I'm not sure what his name was, but it's a classic, just as classic as Felix.
Shit, and Teddy almost killed him too, because after he was looking at the pictures, he's like, "You did this?" He's like, "No, we just do it." He's like, "Why?" He goes, "For fun."
Yeah, he was honest.
He's like,
because it's for other people's fun.
I mean, look at his face. I mean, look at his face.
I can't even see it. But anyway, at that point, Teddy's got to be 90% aware or awakened. Yes, no, I don't know.
I would say like 80%, because something's still holding him back, and I think it's the fact. You can
tell, like, he's going through the motions, but up here he's like.
He's still. I think he's so. I think like
he's got like an ethical like switch that won't go off.
I think Dolores is his cornerstone, and to see Dolores kind of shifting,
he lives for her.
He lives for her.
That's his narrative.
That's his derivative. So to see her kind of going down this dark path, I think that right there alone's already just with him too much.
This is the darkest part with Teddy. Basically, Dolores decides to recruit the Confederados. Confederados. Is that right?
Right.
Confederados, but whom seemed already like destroy the town they were in. I might be thinking of where William went. Maybe that's the town that looked like it was on all burning and stuff like that. But pretty sure Dolores and Teddy gunned down the entire Last Supper display of Confederados.
Oh yeah, and I got that picture
that
here.
Leadership dinner.
Yeah.
And she's not going to take any sass from any other hosts. Therefore, creepy Dolores is quoted, she is basically searching for the valley beyond. And that houses a weapon that can help her destroy humans.
The weapon, you say? But before that major scene, you forgot about the super major meet of the century, man. The mate, and now I'm not talking about this meet here between.
You mean what the episode was named? Was named what? What's the name of the episode?
Something reunion.
Reunion, just reunion.
Reunion.
Well, that's my next note here. Not much of Maeve, Hector, and Sizemore, but the reunion, the so-called reunion, was just a weird pass-by. But does Dolores know about Maeve's intelligence, and does Maeve know about Dolores' intelligence, like the exact? Like, you know, there've been, both of them have been updated, whether it's Arnold that updated Dolores or Maeve doing it to herself by using the text. But when they passed each other up around that bonfire, and Dolores was like halfway in narrative and halfway like... Yeah, that's the city of St. Louis for you. Cubs, Cardinals in town, gotta close the windows.
It's a live stream for you.
But PanNerdia must continue.
Oh, that's real obnoxious, guys.
Well, here, let me just ask you, what do you think? Maeve, Dolores, do they when they passed by, do they know? Can they compute? Can they sense? Can they use these higher abilities that they have now to sense each other's intelligence?
Oh, I was literally about to put us on standby because that was so obnoxious to me.
I don't know if they can hear the sirens like we can.
Maybe they can't, but it's real loud on our end. I was just going to put you guys on standby for a minute, but it seems to come to a halt.
Yeah.
So, do I think that they realize they're both woke or sentient at this point? I think they do, but in their own...
They do know that they're woke.
Okay.
But do they know that, like, holy cow, she's like a level 10 or whatever? Like, holy cow, she's like a level 10
I think usually Maeve can tell when they are, but I think with Dolores it's a different case. I don't think she can read Dolores like she can the other android.
I
think Dolores is almost...
Dolores is in her own thing.
She has like an ancient script, so to speak, and like an ancient, not ancient, but you get me. It's like it's a deep rooted code that's almost been like the kind of just the initial, like, put it as like the God narrative that Ford created from the get go that he had in his mind. Ford and Arnold, a lot of theories behind that, but that they drove forward. This is that initial kind of like underlining, like this is what they plan on doing. Where Maeve, she kind of through Dolores became woken. You know, these violent delights have violent ends. That she kind of developed her own kind of. She kind of woke and developed her own sense of sentience through.
That's a good way of putting it.
To a degree. I mean, she had somebody pulling the strings. You saw from season 1, but she made her own choice when she decided to leave the train. That was her choice she made that really put her to sentient level. And she's kind of already, I think, closer to the real humans than Dolores is. I think Dolores is going in that, like, she's almost
I am above and beyond kind of.
She is. She's a
demigod-like.
Demigod. What's another thing? A prophet. She's like the prophet of Ford, where Dolores is kind of like, not Dolores. I mean, Maeve is almost like the fallen angel.
Ah, I like that.
To a degree.
And you know what? Whether Ford made Arnold as well as Bernard, or whether Arnold was a real human flesh person and then died, and then just like Ford, we don't know. They're probably going to make a big twist at the end of the season, like they revealed Bernard at the end of season 1. I bet you there's another reveal, and it's got to do with him again.
I bet it is,
I mean,
man.
Unless it's, I don't know, Strand might be a superhuman android. Even.
So let's speak about another reunion here. Not quite as big as one, but of course it's the Man in Black and Lawrence.
Yeah, Man in Black William goes into game mode and saves Lawrence again, because that's his routine, but it wasn't as easy this time, was it?
Hangover Anthill.
Yeah. He goes to Pariah to recruit, as Dolores tried, with the Confederados, but this case, he went to go see El Lazo, but this time El Lazo was played by Gus Fring. Oh, wait. That's not his real name, but that was his name in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I love that. As soon as I heard him speak, I was like, oh, that's the actor who plays Gus Fring, and I can't remember his name off the bat. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna.
It's a long name, but yeah. But he basically through Ford's command, has his gang commit mass suicide, and Ford has to move on without anybody except for Lawrence. So, but he did state his quest is to destroy what he called his greatest mistake. So big quote by Black,
right?
Big quote by Dolores. They're pretty much the same thing. They want to get an army together to basically fight back the humans.
So this is what I think the greatest mistake is.
Supposed to find the door. Where's the door?
I think
about the door.
I think the greatest mistake and what he's talking about, but he's going to use it for himself to find this door, is what's behind us right now, which is, of course, the terraforming machines. I think his greatest mistake, because think about it, at the end of the episode, which we'll talk about it in a second, in terms of the interactions with William and Dolores, but William shows Dolores the terraforming machine, saying, have you ever seen something filled with so much splendor? And it's the terraforming machines. Then Dolores references it as she needs to go find this weapon. It's the terraforming machines. Then Black references as, let's go find this thing that is the worst thing to happen, basically.
Yes.
So, and that is the terraforming machines.
I don't know if that's, I mean, how is that a weapon? Like, how is a terraforming machine going to, like, kill mass quantities of humans? I mean,
with the Dolores, is that Dolores' sake?
Yeah.
With her, I think she's gonna just use it to get out of the park somehow, or change the park, or find. See, that's the thing.
Or drill her way out to the other side, kind of thing.
And I think the whole idea with the terraforming machine, when William showed it to Dolores when he was young, was saying, "Look at this. We can make whatever we want on this island." And this is when he gets the idea to make multiple parks, probably more of as an investment to make even more money. We can make whatever the F we want. And then now he's like, that was my biggest mistake.
Oh.
So I'm going to use this to tear down. Because he even says he wants to burn this place to the ground now.
So he's kind of seen what Logan was trying to say, is like, you don't realize how far this is going to go.
Right.
Like, humanity's already hurting, which is a big, big question. We'll get into throughout the whole season, really. But here we are with William slowly getting darker, only to come out light at the end.
Yeah, and he might flip again.
Doing it for a good cause, big picture wise.
Do a double switch. I mean, and you can see him, like, as soon as he leaves that park for the first time, and he's trying to get James to invest, and then during the retirement/coronation, for example, we see Armistice kind of strolling through the party. That was a nice little Easter egg. Dolores there playing the piano. Of course, he brings Dolores to the party, and Logan quotes, his humor was always a little broke. So Dolores eventually stumbles down to the water's edge because she's in awe at the splendor of the city lights. She says it looks like the stars have spilled over the sky, over the ground, and so she's going there to see it again. And Logan's sitting there shooting up with futuristic heroin or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. And he goes
he's like,
out,
"Oh, you're the pretty girl."
Yeah. Oh, did they send you to talk to me?
And and he goes to that whole thing. And what's interesting is that last kind of line he says. He goes in this monologue where he's talking about, and I don't know if you wrote down that quote at all, but he essentially says that this is it's a party for fools, or a fiddle for fools, or something. A fool's fiddle. I forget exact words. And he goes, and they don't realize that they don't realize that the civilization of this species is going up in flames now. And then he says, and those two lit the match, speaking on William and his own father James. That deal they took with WestWorld is going to be the end of humanity as we know it. Hence Dolores' main plan to take out humanity.
Yeah, and Maeve going her own rogue way. Like, it's going to get pretty nasty. I'm waiting for some Shogun action, though. Are we going to get some this episode?
I don't know. We'll get to that here in a second with some predictions. Let's close out here with this last little kind of interaction between William and Dolores.
Yes, let's do that.
So, he pulls Dolores into the typical glass room. Dolores is naked and exposed, and he comes in being all pompous, talking about how, he can't believe he used to love her and stuff along those lines. And then
I can't believe I fell in love with you.
Right.
And she's like, Splendor? What? Like, she's all like...
She is. At that point, she totally is. But he's still, which is weird, he still has this, even though he says that, he's contradicting himself because then he wants to impress her by showing, you want to see something? And that's, of course, the terraforming machine.
I'm pretty sure he's always been intrigued to show her, any host, but specifically her, like what's going on. Because remember, in the first season, he's traveling around. Right. He's talking to hosts and just straight up saying, "Oh yeah, I guess Ford meant to have that happen, huh?" And this and that. And most of the androids are like, "Huh?" You know. And the others are like, they're like taking it in, but they don't know what he's talking about. And then there's others like Dolores. They're like, "What?" Like add that to the bank and then calculate that later.
Oh, and speaking of Dolores and all this, and I'm gonna flip back over to these real quick just so we can. When they're in the town and James comes to visit and he sees Dolores, they do a lot of deliberate shots on Dolores' face. And when she first stops, she's got that smile looking at Teddy. But as James is around her and he's talking to Logan and calling him a cheeky cunt, they keep showing Dolores' face, and her mouth is changing. She becomes more stale-faced and even more stern to the point where she's listening. Totally. Especially after my second or third time watching the episode. I noticed that. So, all in all... I'm
sure that was in the script, too. Now, facial expression. Everything from the upper lip up, total deadpan. Everything from, like, the bottom lip down. You are computing and taking in and listening in.
Right.
Like, yeah. Good luck, Evan Rachel Wood. And you know what? She pulls it off.
Oh, she's the best, man.
But you know what she didn't pull off, and nobody did? Any clothes, right?
Not really. She did that episode, but all you saw was butt crack.
Well, butt crack's okay.
Well, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's
but so let's talk about what we liked about this episode, and we'll start off with a little Aaron's analysis. Basically, I thought it was a great freaking second episode. It was a good transition from that crazy twist and turn first episode there with the timelines. Yeah, of course they pulled in timelines here, but when they went to those timelines, you knew where they were. Though they even in the past one, they kind of did it in 3 sections. You had before they went to WestWorld, after they went to WestWorld and sealed the deal, and once, William, so to speak, took the throne. So I really appreciated seeing those past instances, and you kind of really felt the kind of emotional energy behind like the decisions they were making to kind of the future of society altogether. And then, of course, it was great seeing the first meeting of Dolores and Maeve. It went down pretty much the way I thought. They're going to be kind of in a little tiff. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of come together later on in this season, if they do at all, or if they become enemies. Because Dolores could end up being the enemy of this season. But ultimately, I really dug what they were doing with the characters and how they're developing them more. We did not see any of Bernard. We did see a little bit of Arnold. But hopefully with episode 3, we'll get more of that Strand Bernard storyline. But ultimately, I really did like episode 2. I thought it was a solid episode to lead us into this crazy journey of WestWorld season 2.
Oh yes.
So Pete, what did you appreciate?
I appreciate from top to bottom the whole show, but in episode 2, which we were discussing, I would have to say there's 3 things, and I'll keep it as brief as I can. Splendor, reveals, and symbols. The first thing, Splendor, I say that so I can remember what I'm talking about, and that is when Dolores was saying the Splendor, and it reminded me of her on her farmhouse and saying it about WestWorld and all that. But what it really hit is the core thought, which is basically the core thought of the show, is like, you're wondering, like, where are they at? What's really going on? What's the bigger picture?
Right.
It makes me think of ancient people on Earth when they first saw things and they documented it, whether it was on caves or on papyrus or on paper or on stone or what have you. Because obviously, if you've never seen a spaceship before, or a helicopter, or freaking falling star or whatever, you're going to, like, come up with stories
stuff
like,
that you know.
What is that? Oh, it must be this. It must be the gods. It must be that.
Right.
So Dolores is, like, at the point where, oh, I don't think about that. It's just the gods do this and that. Well, now she's like, just like Maeve, like, there are no gods, but we're real. Yeah. We're real. We're here right now, aren't we? We're thinking we're real. And, they get a hold of those texts, and then the texts basically bring in all those bodies of people that Teddy and Dolores shot down, and here we go again. So that's the first thing, the Splendor. The reveals.
Dude.
What?
When you just said the text, that totally is like gods with books.
Correct.
Oh, man.
I know. It's mind-blowing.
Oh,
That's why when
I
I went to take on the show with you, I was like, I don't think I can do it because, one, I'll only get to watch the show like one time through. If I'm lucky, maybe a second time through. And two, it's so broad and so big that, like, yes, in other shows that are broad and big, like Walking Dead, you can go, the writers can go crazy because you can do pretty much anything.
So much.
But this is like, what? Because it's future. It's not like right now.
Right.
It's future. It's just they can
and
go
it's
anywhere
in a bizarre
with it.
future, man.
So, and the second thing was the reveals. They gave us more reveals and more instead of waiting until the end of the season. I kind of like that, even if they're small reveals.
Yeah, I like small reveals.
And the third thing that I appreciate are the clues and the symbols.
I like the symbols.
The symbols are driving me nuts in a good way, though, because at least, even though they're not answering the big picture of, like, exactly how big is one park, how big are all 6 parks, are they all on the same continent, are they on separate islands, all that stuff.
Right.
At least this sort of, like, gives you something to
chew on. Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that as well. Well,
those are my appreciations. Yes.
Right on.
I hope to appreciate some nudity tonight. It's because it's been a long day, and I don't care if it's Maeve, Dolores, the new whore at the whorehouse, whatever.
Maybe Armistice comes in with a
oh, don't get me started on her. She's like my Maggie. Armistice is like a perfect, natural, beautiful woman.
She is very,
and
very
I'm not
attractive.
sure if she's like Icelandic or something in real life, but man, it's her voice, her accent is...
Oh, somebody just commented on us. Well, thank you, Lubria the cat. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Thanks for joining us here on WestWorldia. I appreciate you peeping in. And it looks like we have an incoming little video here.
Yeah.
Perhaps it has to do with episode 3 tonight. Let's check it out.
Let's do it.
The world out there is marked by survival. By a kind who refuses to die.
All right, we're getting some action.
Should
Looks
we
like
too
something's
try to
stirring up
survive?
here this episode. And Dolores runs into Bernard. It seems. I don't think that was necessarily Arnold. Some natives. I like that. Hector.
Natives as in...
And I dig this
the
music. they're doing,
Ghost
the whistles.
Nation or
Truth
natives
is-
as
Look
in
like
a
the
different
ghost.
part?
Oh.
We don't all deserve
Well,
to
maybe I love this little whistle. Maybe this will tell us something if it's about a different park here.
Right here?
Right? Here.
Oh,
Yes. Oh man.
oh,
so
bring it. Okay, we're ending the
prediction-
show. We have to watch the show now. I'm
oh
dying
man.
to see it.
Real quick though, predictions for tonight. What do we got?
You can't predict something that you don't know when it's happened.
So what do you think, man? I mean,
Okay, I predict this. I predict there'll be flashbacks. I'll predict there'll be flash forwards. I'll predict there'll be a reveal of the new park, the Shogun World Park, and it might just be 1 or 2 characters and not the park itself. Or it might just be like at the end of the episode, like, oh my god, someone's going to get a katana through the throat, and they're going to roll the credits, and I'm going to be like, why? Show me more!
I would love if they ended the episode with some Shogun tease, especially since they're kind of teasing us already with that little trailer there with the bangle.
Don't be like other shows where you tease us with something you're going to show us 3 episodes away.
Right.
Like, only tease us with stuff that you're going to show
immediately
the next episode.
Unless you say, like, in the weeks ahead. So I think Dolores is going to meet up with Bernard. We saw that there. I think it's going to be almost...
Bernard.
It's going to be the swap kind of interaction as it was the first season where Bernard/Arnold is kind of helping Dolores become awake. I know, I see that. Is kind of helping Dolores become awake, but in this instance, I think Dolores is going to be trying to help Bernard try to become, kind of remember what happened or kind of get back online, so to speak. And perhaps somebody, another human, that special force, might start catching on to Bernard.
Hey, I hope I see more of Strand.
Yeah, same here.
The army kind of investigator guy.
Floki from Vikings.
Yeah.
So,
but he, I still think, and I'll tell you people, only here on PanNerdia, I really do think that Strand is a super android, equivalent or even smarter than like a Dolores or a Bernard.
yeah. So this is Pete's.
I think he knows
his theory.
a lot,
Right.
And he's just basically like he's the super android that they made separately from Ford.
Right.
And obviously they've done a lot of things separately from Ford, considering they've got those drone droids in all white with no faces.
Right.
In a layer that Bernard doesn't remember, at least not now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't look like anything to me.
And, well, guys, I guess that's a good place to end it here. We're going to get these terraform machines back in action. We had them on kind of seesaw motor functions for a little too long. Ford's getting a little hasty there.
Violent times equal violent ends, but enjoyment equals
right now.
Enjoying. Pronto.
So you guys go enjoy episode 3 of season 2 of WestWorld over on HBO, and I hope you guys enjoyed WestWorldia on PanNerdia. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet, and be back here next Sunday for another WestWorldia. We'll see you guys then.
Peace.
Peace.